Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special session of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society's History Group. The History Group meets every other month and is intended to provide a platform for researchers of Barbadian and diasporic history, heritage, and culture to present their findings and other research to the members and invited guests of the Society. We are delighted to host this special session by Yusufu Jallo on the Djali, an exploration of some key characteristics in African oral history. At this time, I would like to hand over to the chair for today's event, the Education and Community Outreach Officer at the Barbados Museum and Historical Society, Kay Hall.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our latest history group. This evening, we are having Yusufu Jallo, and he is going to present to us about the Djali. In his 25 years of culture and arts education, Yusufu has delivered transformative learning and development, cultural exploration, and social cohesion in communities and organizations around the world. A keynote speaker at various UK universities and often quoted in a variety of genres and publications, including authors such as Frank Wynne, he has co-written and co-published an epic play, Sweet Peeper, representing the experience of slavery, colonialism, and war in Sierra Leone. His latest film documentary, The Cow Footprints, is a collaboration with director Beck Singleton and the National Film and Television School. His recent role in theatre includes the award-winning play, The Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives, at the Arcola Theatre in London. He has performed at the Scottish International Storytelling Festival and the Reimagined Storytelling Festival in Kenya, amongst others, with extensive radio programs for BBC World Service as a judge for the African Playwrights Association and a BBC Radio 4 as a presenter and storyteller. Yusufu Jallo paves the way for future storytellers to emulate. He presented the successful radio program Pickin' to Pickin' Talk with the NGO Child to Child, designed for children in Sierra Leone, addressing the issues of health, sanitation, and teenage pregnancy. He has worked globally, performing his stories and delivered workshops throughout the educational and entertainment sector. Please join me with welcoming Yusufu to do this evening's presentation. Before he gets started, I just want to tell you, if you have questions, you can put them, if you're on Facebook, in the Facebook chat, and they'll be asked to him later. If you're logged in via Zoom, you can put them in the Q&A. If you're just making comments in Zoom, you can put them in the comments as opposed to putting them in the Q&A, because we're reserving the Q&A specifically for questions about the presentation. Yusufu, please go ahead, and welcome once again this evening.
Hey, oh, me people them, I'm glad you for see you now. I know be no say una sit down here, they wait for me. Na passa de vaso, I como Sierra Leone, but where I see una don't sit down so me at some cold. Oh, I'm me at school. See you now. I know be no say una sit down here, they wait for me. Na passa de passo, I como Sierra Leone, but where I see una don't sit down so me at Tompo. Me at school. Me at don't cool now. Well, good afternoon from wherever you are around the world. Good afternoon or good evening to you if you're listening from the United Kingdom. If you're in America, it's good afternoon. But from wherever you are, I am Yusufu Jallo. And I want to present to you a wonderful, wonderful session today about the Djali. Before we start that one, let me first of all greet you in my language from Sierra Leone. We will say kushe, we will say audi body, we will say njarama, we will say mpiari, we will say bua, and we will say mambena. All means greetings to you all. Right now, let me just say to you that we are all in what we call a court barre. A court barre. A barre is where we all meet to discuss issues. In other words, a barre is very much like a parliament that you might have in Britain or in Barbados or in America or wherever you are. A barre is very much the parliament in an African village, or at least a village in Sierra Leone. And I want you all to join me in this court barre right now in my village, Kamakoni. But to get this court barre going or this court barre happening, it cannot happen without us having a paramount chief, or who we will call a pagong. A pagong for now, let me say K Hall is our pagong. K, you are the paramount chief. You are the pagong. And in this court barre, because it is our parliament, it is where we sit down to discuss important issues. It is a simple gathering. It is quite democratic, because when we all gather at the court barre, everybody is able to chip in their own views and their own opinions of what is happening in the whole village. So, K Hall, from now on, you are Pagong K Hall. I want everybody who is watching, listening, whether you're listening on Facebook, wherever you're listening from now on, she is Pagong K Hall. She's the paramount chief. Now, from there, we also need the one who actually is like the engine. This particular one, she's like the neck that holds the head and supports the body at the same time. And that is the one we call the Bompose. The Ya Bompose, for now, we will have Natalie McGoy. You are the Ya Bompose. And the Ya Bompose is incredibly important in this court barre, because before ever the paramount chief says anything, you'll have to go and consult the Ya Bompose. So you're very, very important in this whole meeting here. But let's just move from there. We also need the what we call the Pali Mami. That is one of the chief advisors now, who will speak usually on behalf of the paramount chief, because it's not often you just can't go and meet the paramount chief K Hall and start talking to the paramount chief like that. You need to go through the Pali Mami. In the English Parliament, they will call the Pali Mami the Speaker of the House. Now, the Speaker of this House, it's now Natasha Boyne. You, or Natasha Bino, you are the Speaker of this House. So you are the Pali Mami. But because you are female, so we'll say you are Yali Mami. Pali Mami is when it's a male. Yali Mami is when it's the female. So you, Natasha, you are the Yali Mami. We cannot say nothing to the paramount chief, to the Pagong K Hall, without first talking to you. You are the one who will listen, and then we will go through. So this is how we're going to set up our barre. Now, my people, in sitting down in this barre, sitting in my village in Kamakoni, we have a problem. We have a major problem. And I want you all to listen to this major problem that we have in the village right now. So please, hear me out as I put the case, and together, hopefully, we will be able to solve this problem that we all have in the court barre right now. And this is a serious problem. Please, my people, I want you to understand it's a very serious problem. Let me tell you what the problem is. There is an old man And this man, he's called Pabari. Pabari, you all know he lives just around the corner down near the river there. That's where Pabari lives. But you all know Pabari, he's very wealthy. And he has 3 sons. The first son is Demba. The second son is Samba. And the third son is Samadi. So Demba, Samba, and Samadi. These are Pabari's 3 sons. And you all know, Yabompose Natasha, Natalie, you all know, Paramount Chief Bagong K, you all understand that this man, Pabari, he's very old and he's going to die soon. So what he did, he called his 3 sons and he told them, he says, I want to pass on your inheritances to you. I want to pass on your inheritances to you now so you know exactly what each of you will get. But this is what I want you, the 3 of you, to do for me. I want you to go and each of you bring a horde. Horde. Now I know you're wondering, what is a horde? A horde is like a calabash. Now, many of you may not know what a calabash is, but a calabash is the largest fruit in the world. Some people call it a gourd, and it grows very big. And in Fula, we call it horde. But generally in West Africa, we call it calabash. And so, Pabari asked each of his sons to go and bring a horde. And as they brought the horde, each of them, Pabari asked for the sons to go away while he puts all of their inheritances locked inside the hordes. And so the sons went away. And so Pabari, he took the horde of the oldest son. And inside the horde of the oldest son, Demba, he put a lot of dirt, poto, sand, all sorts of dirt he put inside and locked it tight. He took the horde of the middle son, Samba. Inside he put a lot of gold and diamond and you name the minerals, they were all inside there. And he locked that one tight for Samba, the middle son. For the youngest son, he took a lot of money. You name the currencies, pound sterling, dollars, yen, you name it, everything. He gathered that and he locked it inside the horde of the youngest son, Samadi. Locked it tight. He took the hordes, placed them down, and he called his 3 sons, Demba, Samba, and Samadi. He called them in, and to each he gave their hordes. After he had given them, he warned them. They must not open the horde until after he had died. They had done all the funeral rites, and then they can open their horde for them to see what they have inherited from their very, very wealthy father. Time passed by. The old man died. And as he passed away, all the ceremonies were done. All the rites of passages were done to honor Pabari. After Pabari was gone, the excited young men went to look to discover what it is they have all inherited from their father. As it's the custom, it is the oldest son, Demba, who must first open his own horde to share, to see what he has inherited. And so he took his horde and he opened his horde. When he looked in, he almost passed out with heart attack. He could not believe what he was looking at. Ah, you mean I have worked so hard all these years for my father, and all my father could leave for me is dirt, poto, sand, dust. This is all my father could leave for me. This was strange. And so the middle son, Samba, he took his own horde, really worried now as to what will be inside the horde. And he opened his horde. When he looked inside, what he found almost gave him a heart attack. When he saw the gold, when he saw everything that was in there, but he hesitated to get overexcited because he could not understand. How could his father give him all this gold and the older brother who has only dirt? Well, the youngest son, Samadi, he was now thinking, I wonder what's in mine there. And he opened his own horde. When he opened his horde, he looked in and he saw the amount of money that was in there, in all currencies you can think about. He thought, whoa, what is this? He was hesitant to get excited. And so they thought, look, we don't understand this. We would have thought that this is the older brother who should have the money and the gold and so on. He's worked so hard. How come we have this and he's only got dirt? They could not understand this. So they went into the village. Now they've come to you all here at the court barret. So, Paramount Chief, this is our problem. Pago in K Hall. Natalie, Yabompose Natasha. This is the problem we are facing. Barbados Museum, you're all in this court barret with us. This is our problem. What does this mean? Please, can anybody tell us here, what does it mean? Those of you who are watching on Facebook, please, this is the problem we have here in the village of Kamakoni. Right here that we need to solve in the court barret. What does it mean? How come? Why has the eldest son got dirt and middle got gold and all these minerals and the youngest got money? This is not the custom. Why? Why is this? Can anybody give us an answer? I will take a little bit of break and see if anybody can drop an answer. If you know something, please let me know. Paramount Chief K Hall, this is the problem we have faced. Please, I want to see if your people can drop some answers at all. Does anybody know why?
I am guessing that he is teaching some sort of lesson.
What kind of lesson is that? What kind of lesson is that? How can he go and teach a lesson with the giving the eldest? So that is not the custom. What kind of lesson? Please tell me. What kind of lesson are they teaching? I do not understand this one. Please help us. We have to solve this problem here in this court barret today. This is our biggest problem. We have to solve it.
Perhaps it is a test. Perhaps he wants to see what they're going to make of what he has given them. At the time so that he has left. And he may then make some sort of re-evaluation. We also have another suggestion from Alessandra Cummins. It says, did the oldest son earn all the father's land? And did the earth symbolize the land?
Alessandra Cummins, you are actually a Kuruba. A Kuruba is the guardian, it's a soldier. So Alessandra Cummins, that is your own appointment. You are a soldier. So thank you very much for that answer, okay? So Alessandra, when we say, now I'm sure some of you are thinking, how can a woman be a soldier? Of course, in those ancient times, women are soldiers, okay? And in fact, they were the most fiercest soldiers, fiercest guardians. So Alessandra, I appreciate that answer. We shall see where that one takes us. Is there any other answer at all? Is there any other answer? Somebody said, okay, yes, Alexandra, I can see that here on your chat there. I just wonder if there's anybody, or somebody, Solomon K. Odum is saying, the first son is to inherit all the land. and the properties. That is Solomon K. Odum saying that one. Another one is saying the middle son has all the jewelry. Solomon again is saying that has all the jewelry. So Solomon is saying the middle son has all the bling bling, right? Okay. So so Aziko Simba is saying they are to work together. I like that one. I like that one. They are to work together. Well, I'll wait for one more answer, and then we will move it on to see where we go. Shelley Pritchard is saying the oldest son would expect the gift. He may not have earned it. Oh! He's, so in other words, you are the oldest, but that does not mean you've earned it at all. You have to earn it. That's a really, really good one as well. And Solomon K. Odom says again, the youngest son is to inherit the industry. Now we're looking at it on a really grand scale. Well, guess what? All of us here in the court, Barry, all these answers, it doesn't seem like we've come to some general solid conclusion. Because Paramount Chief K, do you agree with all of these answers at all?
I did think about the possibility that the earth was a symbol for land holdings. I had not really thought about whether or not he had earned it, which was a suggestion made by someone else, but I think that is an equally valid suggestion. I think actually all of them have merit, so I'm anxiously awaiting the real answer.
Well, Solomon K. Odum is dropping answers here. Now Solomon says, each one's inheritance to work together to promote wealth for all. That is also a very good answer. Well, I tell you what, I will suggest Paramount Chief Pago in K Hall, if I may suggest this through our Yali Mami, Natasha, if I may suggest this, that these young men go on a journey, because there's an older man who is about the same age as their dad, who may be able to give the answers. Would you like to journey with me and these young boys for us to go and find the answer? Would you like to? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, another answer. Mara Menzies say, they all have equal value. Depends on the perception of it all. Well, Mara, let us go on this journey and go and find out the answers, if that is okay. So, ding, 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 go with it, go so ding, 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 go with it, go so ding, ding, go with it, go so ding, ding. Well, as these boys went on their way, as we're going on the way, guess what? Guess what we have just seen on the road? We have just seen two cows. And these two cows, one of them is in a patch of land that is green, a patch of land with lots of water, green. But my people, my fellow villagers, this cow is as skinny as a rake. I don't understand this. I have never seen something like this before. Mara Menzies, have you ever seen something like this before? A cow in a green pasture, but skinny. I guess some people in the Caribbean, they will say, a bony, bony, bony. That's the kind of cow. That's how the cow looks. Bony. But the other cow is on a pasture that is dry. Barely enough blade of grass, and of course, very little water. But this cow looks fresh and healthy. Why is this? I do not understand. Can anybody interpret this for me? Do you know what that means? Anyway, let us continue on our journey. I want you to think about this as we're going on this journey, because I really do not understand at all what this means. Janet Creek says Jamaicans would say the cow was maga. Well, right. The cow was maga. Well, let us move on. This is a very strange thing, but think about it, and maybe by the time we're done, you'll be able to give me the answer for this one. Let's go. Ding, 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 go with it, go so ding, ding. And guess what we have just now seen? We have just seen a baboon, and this baboon is sitting down. Me, I am telling you, I never tell a lie. What we are seeing is what I am telling you right now. We are now seeing a baboon, and this baboon is sitting down, and the baboon is wearing those college lecturer degree hats, you know, those flat ones, right? And he's holding on to a Bible here, he's holding on to a Quran over here, and he's sitting down, and he's holding on to a tasib. He's holding like, you know, he's just qualified. Have you ever seen a baboon like this? A baboon with a lecturer garment, wearing a gown? What kind of a baboon? This is very strange. I don't know if you all know what this means, to see a baboon sitting down, dressed up like a lecturer, like a pastor, or a reverend, or like an imam, like a... What kind of baboon is this? Me, I've never seen this kind of thing. I do not know at all whether you've seen this. Natalie, if you've never seen this before, please, or if you have, please let me know, you know. I don't know. I mean, Janet Creek. Have you ever seen a baboon like this before? Mara, have you ever seen a baboon like this? I don't understand. Anyway, let's just keep going. I mean, Aziko, please, if you've ever seen a baboon like this and you know what it means, please tell us what it means, because I do not know. Anyway, let us carry on our journey. Don't forget the two cows and now a baboon. This is strange, but let us carry on. Ding, kaima, ding, ding, now go with it, go so. Guess what we've now just seen? Now we are seeing a little bird. We call this bird pepper bird. A tiny pepper bird sitting two trees. And this tiny pepper bird, when it sits on top of one of the trees, all the leaves of this tree will fall off. But whenever the pepper bird sits on the other tree, all the leaves will blossom. Oh, it will blossom. What kind of bird is this? Bagonke Hall. What kind of bird is this? Natalie, what is this? Natasha, what is this? Aziko, what is this? Mara, what kind of bird is this? This one, I don't understand it at all. Anyway, let us carry on. Ding, ding, ma, ding. Ding, ding, ma, ding. Ding, ding, ma, ding. We've seen one more thing again on the way. And now what we have seen is a dog. It's a female dog. But can you hear all the little puppies barking? Woof, woof, and the little puppies are barking. Puppies barking? Where are they barking from? Oh my goodness. The puppies are actually inside the tummy of this dog, and the puppies are barking. I've never seen this before. Have you? If you've never, well, maybe you can interpret it. Let's keep moving on and see what we can find out next. Remember, we've seen the two cows, and we have seen the baboon. We have seen the bird and the two trees, and now we have seen the dog. Well, eventually, we've now arrived at the village of this elderly man who will help us understand what all of this means. And so these boys, even before we enter into the compound of the elderly man, he stopped us at the gate and says, wait, don't come in. Before you enter my compound, I want you all to tell me about what you met on the road and tell me what it all means. So that's my first question. What does it mean? Let us take the cow. Does anybody know what does that mean, looking at those cows? Well, the boys, they said, Elder, we do not know. Solomon K. Odom is saying, the cow on the green pasture was lazy and not even eating. Didn't see the value she was, while the one on almost dried land did all she could to get the best out of what's available. I like that answer. That is a great answer. Yet, this is what the old man said to the boys. He said, that cow that has all the green pasture is someone who has a lot of wealth, amassed a lot of wealth, but did not amass the wealth with honesty and dignity. And so he loses sleep. He's anxious, worried for the day he will be caught. And because of that, he develops all sorts of sickness and all sorts of worry. That is why that cow is like that. And the other cow that you see, even though he hasn't got much, that cow earns by the sweat of his brow and lives an honest life. So the cow is always at ease. So the cow lives healthily. And so the old man said, you must learn to make sure you live your life with honesty and dignity. Every wealth that you gather it with honesty and dignity. And the old man asked, said, did you see? What else did you see? They said, oh, we saw the baboon. Now, what does the baboon mean? And again, they thought, what does the baboon mean? And the old man said to them, that baboon that you see there is simply this. It is of those who have learned, those who are educated, but they do not speak truth to the younger generation. That's the baboon. They may be a pastor, they may be an imam, they may be a lecturer, they may have PhDs and all that stuff, but they do not speak truth. They are more or less a baboon. So you must learn to speak and teach your younger ones truth. He says, what else did you see? He said, well, we saw the tree with the one bird. He says, do you know what that means? That tree is a man who has two wives. Whenever he goes to the one wife, she is not able to handle his energy, his power, if you get what I'm saying. He says, but when he goes to the other one, she's fine. She can handle him. He says, so you must learn to treat your women according to what they deserve, according to what they desire. Don't just treat them any willy-nilly. Learn to respect them. What else did you see? Well, we saw the dog with the puppies all barking in the tummy. Says, do you know what that means? Says, no. Says, that simply means it will come a time when it is the young ones, the youth, who will now begin to stand up and decide where the future should go. Because the elders don't respect families. They don't speak truth, and they do not gather their wealth with honesty and dignity. And as they thought about it, he says, now come and sit down and let us explain the horde. And the boys sat down. And he says, you, the eldest, Demba, you got the dirt? He says, yes. He says, you, the middle, Samba, you've got the gold and the diamond. He says, yes. He says, you, the youngest, you've got the money. He says, yes, Baba. He says, with your money, you can buy anything? He says, yes, Baba, with my money, I can buy anything, including the gold and the diamond. He says, yes. He says, you, with your gold and diamond, you can get money. He says, yes. He says, where do we get the gold and the diamond from? He says, it's all from the earth, all from the ground. He says, so if the ground does not give gold and diamond, you will not get any diamond, you will not eat. Yeah? See, yes. He says, and your money is useless. He says, yes, Baba, that is true. He says, now take the money, take the gold and the diamond, and give it all to your older brother who has the dirt. He says, your father has given everything to your oldest brother, because from that dirt is where everything comes. You must learn to honor the earth. Learn to honor your older brother. Everything he says, that you must do. And so they gave everything to their elder brother and they went away. So, my Kotbare, this is the story, this is the problem, and thankfully the elder has sorted it out for us. So, Magoin KL, thank you for joining us on this journey. Natasha, Thank you for joining us on this journey to Kamakoni. And everybody else, Mara, you all who joined in this story. But now, let us break this story down a little bit. We are talking about the Djali. The Djali in West Africa is what some people will call a griot. In the French, they use the word griot. But the griot is a colonial terminology. The proper terminology is Djali. Sometimes we say Djaliba. The Djaliba is the historian. But the Djaliba is that person who's able to piece together and bring some kind of sanity inside the community. But now, what we have all just experienced inside this story is precisely what a Djali would do. Let us break this story a little bit, because the Djali tells the history, tells the story so that people can understand. Now, and when we're talking of stories that Djalis will tell, there's 3 different levels. The first level is the level of the family. And that level is where we will tell stories about Brass Spider, Mr. Rabbit, and we'll tell those, and that's just the family level. But then there's also the level where the leaders meet together, where the elders in the village meet together. And there they tell a different type, where they give parables, or what we will say proverbs. And then there's the level where they meet now inter-village, inter-towns, or what you would want to say interstates. That's where the Djali comes in. And there's another different type of stories they will tell there. Stories about the greatness of each kingdom, each community. The Djali is the one who's able to tie the communities together. And through a story like this one, if a Djali tells this story, within this story, you should be able, or you'll be able to decipher a lot of the way how they will kept the tradition, how the Djalis are able to keep the culture, keep the traditions within the community as much as teach these cultures. Let us look at this. And I wanted to look at just 3 aspects within this story. And there are many, many different aspects, of course, to look at within this story. But I want us to be able to look at 3 aspects of this story. The first aspect for this story that I wanted to look at is the aspect of leadership. In teaching about leadership, the Djali introduces us to the baboon. When we look at the character of the baboon and what the Djali is talking about, he's talking about integrity. He's talking about honesty. And these are 2 very important elements that constitute a leader within the African community. Power for us is not about how much money you have. Power for the African community is not necessarily about how nice your car looks, but about honesty and integrity. So when the Djali tells the story of the baboon inside this, people are able to learn the importance of those values. The second thing I want us to look at here is family. Leadership is very important to help hold families together. And we see very well how the father, in putting the family together, he is able to create order. He's able to create among the sons a way for them to respect each other. And he knew who to give the earth to, which is the elder brother. It is very important for us within the African community that family is for us more than, in fact, family is how sometimes we determine our wealth. Because you could have as much money or gold, but if you have no family around you, as far as we are concerned, you are very poor. And in fact, if you check many African languages, you probably will not find a word for poverty. The word poor, to say this person is poor, you probably will not find a word in African language that you can translate to say this is poor. Instead, what you will find is that somebody who has no family, that person is, we pity that person. We see that person as empty, as having nothing, because they have no family. So when we're looking at a story like this, we will see the Djali will tell a story about how you bring the family together. And I know in the WhatsApp group, some people already mentioned about the idea of working together. The third aspect I want to also bring for you is the issue of environment in this story. People wonder, well, do Africans really care about environment? Well, yes. And the Djali has been a custodian. The Djali has been the one who keeps the story of how you maintain the environment. Because if you ask yourself, how come Africans have been living for thousands of years? All the birds flourish, the trees flourish, all the water, everything was there flourishing. And the modern civilization we have today is barely 200 years old. And many animals have gone extinct already, and the climate is on another level altogether. But the Djali plays an important role in reminding people, reminding the villagers of the importance of land, the importance of maintaining the environment. So when you look at that, then you want to go into the spirituality of it now. So when our people see a tree, they honor that tree. They see a stone, they understand the divinity in the stone. A bird, the worm, and every other aspect of life. Many of our people have understood how to maintain this, and the Djali has been a key role. Now, how do the Djali do all of this? Through stories like the one I've just told you, to remind the people. How does the Djali tell this again? Through the songs that they will sing. The African, in general, is full of rhythm. So then we got to ask, what does the Djali do? Again, you see, the Djali would look at entering into the community in a different way Europe would enter into our minds, or if you like, in terms of what I'm talking about, how we'll do, the process of learning. That's what I'm talking about here. What is the process of learning? From the European point of view, the process of learning starts with entering your brain. Remember this, study this, remember this. That's where the Western, that's the Western process, to start from there. The African process starts from your emotion. So the Djali will come with songs. The Djali will come with all of this and will enter through the emotion. So rhythm is the key to open your emotion, and your emotion is the key to open your memory, or open the brain, if you like. And that's how the Djali would work. Now, just to look at these three aspects, and I'm sure there's so many other aspects which some of you will be able to look at within the story and analyze for yourself. But I just want to share with you that when we're looking at the Djali, we're looking at African oral literature that comes in rhythm, that comes, of course, orally. Some people will say, well, it is not written down. How come we cannot get it all written? Well, there are many different ways how it is written down. It is written through the music. It is written through the dance. It is written through the songs. It is written through the carvings. It is written through. Many different ways that even the way women braid their hair. It is written through the designs and patterns we have on our ronko or in our adinkra symbols. Our literature is written in all of these, and we need to take the time to study and learn the way we Africans have preserved our own history, and figure out how we validate this, how we teach this in our own way, because it will only serve to expand the rich heritage that we already have within Africa. Now I will stop there for now because I know the time is running. I'm not quite sure exactly how much time now I have left at all, because I wanted to share, of course, I want to share some stuff with you on the screen. But can you advise me on how much time I have left, or should we go to questions and answers now?
I know that you wanted to do some video presentations, so we can probably start Q&A at 3. So you have about 15 minutes to do that.
I've got 15 minutes to do that. Okay. Now, thank you very much. So now what I want to do is just share images of Djalis of old, and then Djalis of today, and see what they're doing. And I just want us to get that. And then you say I've got 15 minutes to do this, and then after the 15 minutes, we'll get the question and answers. Yes? Okay, very good. So please bear with me. There's a lot of information to go through, and I'm pretty certain that maybe hopefully during the question and answer sessions, we will be able to, I'll be able to give you more additional information. So please bear with me. Let me share my screen. Let me share my first screen picture with you here in looking at Djalis of ancient times. Now, I need to explain to you as well, what does the word Djali mean? The word Djali means blood. Djali means blood. And I'll share this first image here. So if you look at this picture here, you will see some Djalis playing an instrument that we call ngoni. Most people today would say that the Djali only plays the kora. That's what most people would think, that the Djali plays only the kora. Well, no. The Djali, in fact, there are many varieties of stories. But you will hear some stories, if you go to Senegal and Gambia, they will tell you that the kora was not the first instrument that the Djali played. In fact, they will tell you that the first instrument that the Djali played was actually the ngoni and the balafon, what we'll call xylophone. That's what some people will tell you. So that's a picture of the Djali. Now let me close this one and then show you another picture as well. So I'll stop that sharing there, and I'll come and I'll open another image for you here. Please bear with me because all this is all technical stuff. So I am taking my time to make sure I bring you some of these pictures here. Okay. And here we have another image. Oops. I'm not quite sure whether you can all see this. Can you all see this picture at all? Oh, let me bring it this way. Can everybody see this picture at all? I'm not quite sure now. You can all see it. Okay, very good. Because on my screen, it's not quite clear. All right. So, and there now, this instrument here that this particular Djali is holding on to, we call this one bolong. Okay, this is more like a bass instrument, but we call it bolong. But it's all part of the family of the kora instrument. All right. Now, so I want to play a little short video for you. That is, again, I give credit to the University of Gambia. They are the ones who made this video, and it's a privilege to be sharing this video with you, for you to see griots playing, or Djalis playing their kora for you. And I know some of you may have heard the kora before, and some of you may have not. If you've never heard the kora before, well, let me introduce you to the beautiful instrument that is called the kora. Now, so please bear with me here while I bring this up again. Share screen. Now, the kora instrument dates way back It dates all the way back to the 13th century. Okay, let me play this for you.
Good evening, all the listeners. I am Pablo Bojewadi from Brikama, the Gambia.
I am Dr. Ensa Toure, History Lecturer, University of the Gambia. I'm Head of Department of History.
Thank you.
I am Djali Karikonte from Brikama.
Welcome.
Today, we are here to examine within the broader context of the impact transatlantic slave trade on the Gambia from the perspective of economy, politics, social. To explore or examine in a broader context the impact of transatlantic slave trade we must
Okay, I will have to stop the
first
clip
of all
there
look
for
at
now.
the broader historical
Hopefully
context
you get some idea of
in which
what the Djalis are about and what the Kora
we will be
Institute
able
is.
to rationalize evolution of Africa in general and Gambia in particular within the framework of global system dynamics.
All right. Please again give me a chance. I've done something here where the video keeps playing at the background, and I don't seem to know how I get it out. All right, I've got it now. All right. Okay. Okay. How much time do I have left before we go to the Q&A, please?
7 minutes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, fine. That is very good. Now, so basically, when we're looking at the griots, there's a few notes which I wrote down here, which I do not want to, I don't want to go without saying. That the Djali represents, is a representation of education and information through music and proverbs and stories. And so what you've just seen there is Djalis actually at work. The Djalis are fundamental in preserving peace. You see, the Djalis, for any society to prosper, peace is essential. And so the Djali has a central role in bringing peace and unity within a society. The Djali assists and helps the community to grow from within. And there's a big difference when you're growing from within versus when you are growing, well, not even growing, when they are asking you to kind of like just expand or to just add on. That's what I want to say, to add on. Because you see, within the Western education system, you are being asked to add on, put another one, add on. Within the African concept of education, you are asked to grow from within. And there's a difference. So the Djali's role in helping you to grow from within is to remind you of your roots. It's to remind you of where you're coming from. It's to remind you of where your umbilical cord is tied. So when they're playing that kora so melodically, they will begin to remind you of the greatness of your ancestors. They will begin to remind you the names and the deeds of your ancestors. They're encouraging you to understand what is running in your DNA. So you learn to rise from within. In fact, there's a saying, if you live within, you will never live without. That is a fundamental role that the Djalis play to help you live within. You see, culture informs the social thinking. The social thinking itself informs education. And that education informs peace and stability, which determines development. I'll repeat what I just said there. Culture informs the social thinking. And this social thinking informs the education that we might develop. And that education informs peace and stability, or the education brings peace and stability, which determines development. So the Djali is the one who reminds us of our culture. He reminds the younger ones to respect your elders, like in this story. The younger ones thought they've got the gold and the diamond, but it's a respect the older one. That is part of the culture. And that culture in itself informs how we behave in the whole society. The Djali reminds the king to be just, to rule properly, to rule with dignity. Because that king, if you do not rule with dignity, the day when you are gone, nobody even remembers your gravestone. So he reminds the king that whatever that king does will literally, it will inform how the people will behave. Eventually, it will either make the city or the town great, or it will bring the town down to its knees. It is the job of the Djali to bring remembrance to the king. Now we're thinking, if we're wondering, what does this word remembrance, let me bring it for you. Remember. Remember. To put together, to bring together. That is the job of the Djali, to remember us. And in remembering who we are, hopefully that in itself will bring peace first in ourselves. And if there is peace within yourself, there will be peace all around you. It is the job of the Djali. The Djali is like the teacher, the newspaper. I will stop there for now, and let's get ready for the Q&A sessions.
Thank you so much, Yusufu. That was absolutely riveting. It was really, really interesting. I shared this with some theatre art students from our local community college, as well as their teacher ahead of the presentation. And I've already gotten a bit of a kind of a confirmation from her that any students who missed it, they're going to have to come back and watch it anyway, because it's that great and that useful, being able to learn about traditional forms of dissemination of knowledge. And of course, as theatre art students, they're learning different ways to put their message across. But on to our questions. The very first question is from Heather Thompson. she's asking, is family confined to blood relatives? I suspect she's referring to the bit where you said people feel sorry for you if you don't have family. So she says, is family confined to blood relatives?
Very good question. No, it is not. It's not confined to blood relatives at all. Of course, blood relative is very important, but it's not confined to it. I have brothers that my dad raised that have nothing to do with blood. And if I'm not just one, I've got many that my dad raised that where we all see each other as brother and sister now. If you've not grown up in my family, you'd actually think that my dad gave birth to them. That's how it is. So it is not about that. It is also important as well that if a woman is barren, because in the story I did not go on talking about the issue of gender, which is also is within the story as well. But the issue of gender, if a woman is barren, she cannot have a child, for example, with a man. There will be another woman who will give birth to a child and will offer that child to say, here, have this child. It is your child. This, we usually say, take this pikin, this wall and next wall, now you pikin. This is family. You see, this is family, and it's happened. I know it's happened within my family because family, I come from a very large family. Okay, but this is all part of how we all operate. So it is not just a question about blood, it's about belonging. So now I talked about the Djali meaning blood. I need to explain a little bit on that in case somebody is wondering what I meant by that. In other words, it's about specifically about genetics, it's more specifically about a web of people, a family of people who come from those who are seen as the original people who learned the Djali, or who carry the names of the Djali. For example, you have the Kuyate, you have the Tumani Jobates, you have the Keita family, we have the Sissoko families. These are a web of people who belong to the Djali clan, or if you like, the blood. Now, these are people who are entrusted with carrying the history, the honor, everything about the society to keep the society running peacefully. They are, if you like, the beginning, the middle. Well, we'll see where the end goes, but at least they are the beginning and the middle for now. But they are able to, the Djali is like a bird's eye view. And the Djali is right there, and they can tell you the beginning, the middle, and the end of what has happened before. It is now your choice, your own. It's now down to you what you choose, which path you choose to get to wherever you want to get to. But the Djali will be that bird's eye view that will tell you, remember, a long time ago, there was Paramount Chief K. Hall, who did this and did that and did that and did that, and she ended up over there becoming a multi-millionaire. And if you do all the same things, you will get there, but it's up to you. The Djali knows that history of Bago in Kate Hall. He knows the history of Natasha. He knows the history of all of these people, and the Djali is able to provide them for you. You see, we must understand that one of the reasons why the European does everything to make sure we do not learn about who we are is so that we do not know the path to take. That's very important. And how do they do it? They take your name off you. So once your name goes, you're gone. I'm called Jallo. In my country, in Sierra Leone, as you say Jallo, people will say, hey, Jallo Jere. They know exactly where I am coming from. That's very important. If we say somebody is a Koroma, we know a Koroma. We say Jallo Jamboria, we know straight away Jamboria where they're coming from. We can mark that, and that's important. And we must never be fooled to think it is not important, because in the Western society, they are proud to say they are a ram's bottom. Yes, they are proud to say, and they'll give you the genealogy. If we go to the Jewish people, they will give you genealogies. Those of you who are Christians, you know what I'm talking about. There's genealogies. The same with us in Africa. We cannot take for granted the importance of all of this. And that is what the Djali talks about. So when we're talking of blood, we are talking about this network of people that has been there, that is running through our veins all along. And the Djali is born with that talent. Somebody asked a question. It says, are the Djalis all male? Or no? All right, okay.
I have that question here, but there are several questions ahead of that. So,
Carry on.
right. So, well, that actually is the next question, but I've got about 5 or 6 questions waiting. So, from Simba on Facebook, we're all Djalis male.
Good question. Well, yeah, we have Djali Musu, which is the female, right? So we have Djali or Djaliba, and we have Djali Musu, who are the female, okay? So there are women who do carry, who understand the history. I was looking for a particular clip where a Djali Musu was singing for me when I went to a specific place called Kabbalah in the northern part of Sierra Leone. And I got there to do for a festival, and these Djali Musus were there. They have never met me before. I have never met them before. All they heard was my name, Yusufu Jallo, and that's all they needed. And they just started singing for me and praising me, calling rich histories of my past. So there are female who also are Djali Musus as well.
Next question from Natasha on Facebook. Can the Djali tell stories about health issues of past family members?
Really good question. Really good question. That is not necessarily what the Djali would do. That now is about the family now. Let us say now you want to get married. So if you want to get married, it's down to the uncles and aunties who go and do the research and begin to find out, is this person, do they have a thief in their family? Has there been somebody who's a kleptomaniac? Is there somebody who does not respect law and order? Is there somebody who, who's a foul player, kind of, or a good person, or are they generous? And so they will find this history out. However, there is a level of Djalis who you will go and consult to ask, but the Djali is not the one who will come out to talk anything bad or negative about somebody. The Djali does not do that. Remember, the Djali is the one who brings together. He's not there to necessarily to bring apart, but he will advise you. It's up to you now to take that advice to say, well, this family has been like this. But so if you want to talk about illnesses now, for example, you will go to what in Nigeria they will call the babalao, or some people want to use the word juju. Some people want to use the word moreman. But these are people who are able to look into through spiritual, through the cowrie shell. They're able to tell you that family, careful. But usually they'll tell you those things based on certain knowledge that they already know. You understand? But that's not strictly the role of the Djali. There are others who will advise you on that.
Our next question from Mara on Facebook. In the time of digital media, how do we effectively bring the oral tradition back to the mainstream?
That is such a fantastic question. And let me just say here that this person asking this question is a formidable storyteller also from Kenya. And I think you guys there at the museum, you should get this person to engage this person here. Okay, engage. This is a formidable person as well, who's a amazing person. So this question she's asking here is incredibly important. How do we bring the oral thing into the mainstream? Well, I would answer to say that there's always been the oral tradition on mainstream, except it is called by a different name. It is called rap. It is called hip hop. They've called it spoken word. They've called it poetry. That's what they've called it. But this level of degree of where I am telling you a story, and then we're seeing the importance, the impact of what I am doing, where I go to the roots, is what we now need to begin to understand. Because Those of you in the Caribbean, those of us all in the diaspora away from Africa, we must understand this. While we're doing the rap and doing all the hip hop and whatever else we're doing, we must know this. You can water the leaves all you like. If you do not water the roots, that plant will die. The roots is in these oral stories that I'm telling you. The roots is finding out how the story is told in the Adinkra design in Ghana. It is how you tell the story in the ronko. When you lift the ronko sleeve up, what is it saying? When you lift the other sleeve up, what is it saying? When I wear my fila hat, what is it saying? When the women braid their hair in particular, what is it saying? The Maos in Kenya, the women in Kenya would braid their hair in particular ways to inform their men of when an attack is going to happen from the British people. They use their hairstyle to inform their men. How are we going to tell these stories? We need to go back to that root. So this is why a session like this is so important for the younger ones. So they begin to go to the roots instead of being grafted. Because many are grafted. So when you're grafted, you can only be fed for as much as that which you're grafted on will feed you or choose to feed you. But when you're rooted, it is endless, the resources you will bring up for yourself. And you will grow precisely the way you should. And there's another level as well to this thing about looking at the oral heritage. It is about us looking at ourselves in the mirror and embracing it. Good, bad, ugly, but embracing it. Because it is just what it is, and we should be able to present that fully for what it is. No compromise, fully for what it is. But when we are in a position right now where the dominant academic culture is of a Western form, we have learned, I use the word learned, we have learned how to negate ourselves from the paradigm, from the educational paradigm. And so we're not able to validate ourselves. And the way we're going to start is going back to the oral tradition, because it is our own style. It is our own way of educating ourselves. And the griot gives an answer to that. The griot has found ways to preserve and maintain and decolonize our culture and our education through the oral tradition. And there's another added thing to that as well when we look at the oral tradition and why we should be maintaining it. It is the way we lock our own heritage. And why am I saying lock? Well, you in Barbados right now, wherever you may be around the world, in England, wherever you may be listening to this thing, if you're in England, will you just go to the British Museum and see an ornament? I'm taking this ornament, I want it, I want to buy this ornament. Will you do that? Absolutely no. Because they've locked it. And what do they lock it with? They lock it with language that they call legal language. and it's that big. By the time you go through those legal pages, you're confused. The oral heritage is a way to lock our own heritage so we can own it by ourselves. We can own it. The oral heritage does that.
Thanks very much for your answer. It's quite thought-provoking, especially in light of some recent events in Barbados where we had a conversation about our local artists documenting the good, the bad, or the ugly about society. There's some people who felt they should only document positive things, and they tried to put them on the back foot, so to speak, by telling them that if they are to be role models, they cannot document the negative. They must stick only to the positive. And it was quite tense for a while there, because the timing was quite bad at the time as well with regard to a recent incident that had happened. But on to the next question from Natasha on Facebook. Where does the Djali fit in the social structure in the society? And is the Djali under some kind of king or queen?
The Djali is always under the queen or the king, always working with them. In ancient times, this Djali would always be within the compound of the king. I'll give you an example of an ancient Djali. For those of you who are Christians, David was a Djali. When King Saul was always troubled, he would call David to come and play what in English translation they say harp. He was actually playing an instrument called krar, which today you find in Ethiopia. So the Djali has always been there within the king's compound. Of course, today it is changing because the modern Djalis today are what we call newspapers and social media. Those are all modern day Djalis. But when we're talking of the West African Malinke Djali, they were constantly right there with the king or the queen.
Our next question from Althea on Facebook. What is the meaning of the names Yusufu and Djala?
That is so flattering to ask. All right, now Yusufu comes from the Arabic Yusuf and Joseph in English. And it's actually, I mean, it's of course from Hebrew as well. And it actually means God increasing. That's what it means. That's what the name Yusuf or Joseph, that's what it actually means. God increasing. I hope I've increased today. Djalo. Well, by sharing what I'm sharing with you, I have increased. Now, Djalo is my clan name. All right. Among the Fulas, because I am Fulani, you have Djalo, Bari, Ba, and then you have So. There's other names as well, but these are the four main ones. And so the Djali is of a merchant class. And so when you say my name, people know a Djalo from the merchant Fulani people.
I'm actually going to skip over one question to move on to the one after it because it's sort of related to what you just answered. From the Iroko Theatre, the images you showed seem to have Islamic motifs. Do Djalis have Arabic influence or connection?
That is a very, very brilliant question. I mean, let me tell you guys, you've got some amazing people on this network right now. Okay, Iroko Theatre, another amazing African theatre company. All right, as well that have been working here in the United Kingdom for the past 20 years, delivering African theatre right across Europe. And so this is a very good question because people will always ask, well, how much influence has Islam got on the Djali? Well, the Djalis actually were established long before Islam actually came on. Because if we go all the way back to the kingdom of Mansa Musa, the Djalis, people will say the Djalis kind of like started from there. But they started before Mansa actually went off to Mecca on his pilgrimage. The Djalis had always been there. They have always been those ones who, as I said, would educate the community. But let me go a little bit further back from there and say that if we are looking at, if we go all the way as far back as Egypt, when I went to Egypt, I saw with my own eyes Djalis playing the ngoni on some of these blocks, and you see the drawing right there, and you look at it and you just know that's a Djali sitting down there playing. So they predate Islam. However, Islam has influenced them tremendously, and that is one of the strengths of the Djalis. The Djalis have learned how to adapt many different cultures within their society. And remember that the Djali is always about maintaining peace. It's always about keeping together people. So when Islam came in, the Djalis were smart enough to understand how to incorporate Islam and those who were in authorities then into the fabric of the society and make it work. So when you find many Djalis today, in fact, if not even all of them today, you'll find that they are all Muslims. They understood the time of day and knew exactly if we just remain just this way, we'll go extinct. And that's been the wonderful adaptability skills of the Djalis. So today we have modern day Djalis that are traveling all around the world. Sekou Keita, a good friend of mine, is an amazing Djali. He's all around the world performing. Tumani Jobate, All these people, you know, Sekuba Suso, Djali Suso, these are friends of mine who have moved on and they have adapted their skills. And that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that they forget the history. No, in fact, they tell it still in their songs. But somebody like Djali Suso, Djali Keba, when he plays his kora in the form of a rock sound. So we can see how the Djali smartly are moving on. I see Sekou Keita doing similar work as well. If we take Baba Mal from Senegal, he's another amazing Djali. When he's also playing his music, he's got the one that he'll adapt for European ears, and he has the one that will play specifically for his own roots. So the Djalis in taking on Islam are actually evidencing an amazing skill of adaptability.
Our next question from in the chat is, what was the role of the Djali in diplomatic relations with other kingdoms near our far?
Wow, that is a very, very fantastic question to ask. There was a story of a Susu king, as a powerful Susu king that was coming to or planning to attack one of the Manding towns that was nearby. And so this Susu king was so powerful, but so what the Manding king did was say, look, you know what? I don't want to be attacked by this king. So what he did, he sent the Djali. This Djali went with a bride, a young, you know, lady, over to offer to the to this Susu king to marry, because sometimes that's what they will do. They will, through marriage, they will bring peace, and the one that will go along with the bride will be the Djali. And so when the Djali went to this Susu king was powerful. And it was known that this Susu king gets his power from playing a balafon. And whenever he played the balafon, all the spirits of the forest will bow down to him. Whether it is the spirit of the snake, the giraffe, all of them, the elephants, the lions, the baboons, all of them will bow down to this king. And so when the Djali came, he came to find out what this power was. Eventually, at night, he sneaked to where the king would play, and he heard the king play. So as the king went away, he also sneaked into the place. He carried the balafon and he started playing. As he played, all of the spirits came out to attack him. They were attacking him. When the king came out, saw him, the king was so furious. The king took out his sword to slash the Djali, and the young new bride came out, and she started pleading for the Djali to be spared, for his life to be spared. And the king, so impressed with how the Djali played this balafon and his courage, the king gave the Djali the balafon, and the Djali played the balafon, and he went off to his own town. And from that day, there was never any war within these two kingdoms. Now that is a very popular story among the Manding people. If you go to Gambia, you'll find that story there. And it was, of course, if you go to Guinea, you'll find a similar story as well. So there's numerous stories like this of what the Djalis do to bring peace within societies and as diplomats.
And our final question, unless someone asks another question while you're answering this one, from Simba on Facebook: are the Djali still honored in contemporary Africa?
Oh, good question. Yes, the Djalis are still honored, and it will depend which country you go to. If you go to Guinea, Djalibas are highly honored. In fact, there's hardly a wedding where you go to where you not have Djalibas. So we're in the city. If you go to the cities, you will find that the Djalis will just be, or they'll be seen like they're just musicians. That's what you'll see openly. But when you go beneath the surface a little bit, you will find that there is a culture running across where the Djalis are highly respected and their words are revered. That is within the city, so you see it when you go a little bit under. But when you go to the villages, it is quite open, because no chief would sit without their Djali next to them. Again, in the modern world, we might want to use the word a speaker, right? But they would have a Djali who understands the whole history next to them. That's still going on in the villages. But again, if you go to Mali, it's strong. Burkina Faso, it's strong. Guinea, it's strong. Senegal, it's strong. Guinea-Bissau and Gambia, you find a strong tradition there of the Djali. We used to have it in Sierra Leone, but it is not that strong anymore. If I extend that, I'm sorry, but I just want to say, if I extend that, because when we're talking of Djali, in this case, we are referring to those in the Malinke in West Africa, as in the Mali, those within that Mali Empire region. But if we extend it to Ghana, if we extend it to Nigeria, in Nigeria among the Yoruba people, you have the Ayon. And the Ayon, they are also Djalis. If you go down to South Africa, you find Djalis there as well. All have different names, of course, but you'll find that they're still respected in many of these areas. And hopefully that will be probably a talk for another day. But long and short of it, yes, they are still respected as you move into the indigenous regions.
That actually sounds as a little bit like the function too of the bird in a more European or Western court. Perhaps that was something that they inherited, like many other things, from African civilization. We have one last question that came in while you were answering the last one from Natasha. What is the creation story of the Kora?
Again, it varies. To put it short, is that it said that again during the times of the Mans during the 13th century, and again I was told this story by Sekou Keita, who is actually a Djali, and what he's saying that this was the Djali was given to one of their ancestors during those days by a jinn. Now, the word jinn, meaning like a spirit, a higher being, an angel. I'm trying to give the best descriptions I can give of what a jinn is, but of a higher spiritual, out of this world entity. That's the one that gave the a Korah to a Djali in the ancient times, again during the 13th century. So far, that is at least what they told me, and I must say this as well, though. Djalis do not necessarily just give out information just like that on certain things. You really have to be embedded into them very well for you to get certain information. Really, really important. Because like I said, it's blood, right? Blood. There is a commitment they have to each other to keep their heritage locked within themselves.
I kind of have a question with regards to the preservation of cultural forms like this from a point of view of international recognition, like the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention from UNESCO and so on. Has there been any work done to maybe document and do it at that level?
There are some work that has been done, but very scanty on the Djali. You'll find it very difficult to actually have a comprehensive book. There's one or two books that are quite comprehensive. I know that, for example, let me just get this work here. For example, a book by Thomas A. Hale. For example, there's a book they called the Griot and Griote. Griot and Griote. If you have that book as well, it talks a lot about Djalis there. But I guess like many aspects of African history, documentation is very, 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 very scanty. In Sierra Leone, for example, right now, the historians we have, those who have written Sierra Leonean history, we barely have one remaining now. All have died. So we barely have one. And many have left Sierra Leone for greener pastures. And that brings me, I don't know if you have any more questions to ask, but I wanted to make this statement while you ask.
Well, just one more that came in, and we're sort of running out of time. So I will let you finish your statement, and I will ask that question, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. So if anyone else, I'll say that now, has further questions after Nigel, they can put them on our Facebook platform, and we'll make it available to Yusufu so that he can respond to you directly after this session is over.
Okay, but ask that question, please. Let me answer that question, then I can,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, Nigel has asked if there's any evidence of the Djali's influence in the Caribbean or Latin America.
Very, very good question. In terms of evidence, I think what you're going to look at is look at their music. I went to a place called Cali in Colombia. I almost fell off my feet when I saw what they were playing, how they were playing what they were playing. It is purely very much from what the Djalis have been doing. Their call and response, the way they played it, was very much what the Djalis would do, the way I told my stories right now. And I was literally stunned to see them carry a lot of the customs there as well. But also, when you go to Jamaica, let's take in Jamaica, you'll always have an elder who knows what and what is going on. Whether it's an old woman who knows what and what is going on, who you go to ask. That's the work of the Djali. It's there. It's, like I said, it's blood. It's in the DNA. It is right there. It is whether we look for it. It is whether we acknowledge it. It is whether we value it. Is there any more question at all? Okay. So, what I want to conclude with here is this. With all of this that we've just looked at tonight, or this afternoon from your own point of view, with all that we've looked at, my question is, how much do we value what we have just heard? How much value do we place on what we have heard, just even about the Djali? I have just explained that in Sierra Leone, those historians are dying out. And many young people are no longer taking up history studies. In fact, many are leaving the villages and they are coming to sit in the city to listen to Shaggy and to listen to, I mean, all the other music that they listen to, Davido and all of that stuff, who are not necessarily Djalis in the true form of its sense. So why are the young ones doing this and leaving the village? Because they do not see respect, honor. They do not see a sense of them being able to live being a Djali. They do not see a sense where what this thing consists of, being a Djali, can make them live. So when we're talking of value this, we're going to have to look at it not only in terms of, first of all, of course, how we structure or restructure our curriculums so that we place proper value on these stories, understanding that it's the roots for us. It should form the basis to inform how we as a people are going to move on in the future. If we don't use this, then we're using something else, and what's going to happen? Our young people are going to want to leave what is truly theirs and go somewhere else. Value on the work of the Djali, on the historians, on our culture is going to be crucial in determining how far or the height at which we are able to reach, or our generations are able to reach. If we're going to talk about self-determination, we cannot talk of self-determination if we do not have a proper grasp, understanding, appreciation, value of who we truly are. And the Djali represents that. I know in Barbados there, you're just about to launch an ancestral center or society. Am I correct? I know you're about to launch something like that. Now, that is what we are talking about. But there are other practical things that are important when we're talking of what the Djali represents. It also means we're going to place value on a lot of things like our clothing, our language, how much we pursue to learn and teach our language and use our languages as tools, as a vehicle to carry through our own culture. If the young people don't see us placing value in these, we're going to have problems. We have clothes like Gara, we have batik, we have the Adinkra, we have some of the what we call woodblock prints. We have our own way of manufacturing our own cloth. We have our own form of writing and passing on messages. We are going to have to figure out how to validate this and teach them at university and have degrees for them if we want to create degrees for them, but value them and have PhDs on them, but not PhDs that is just for the letter. No. PhDs that will help us create industries. And I'm saying that very clearly here, as bluntly as I can say it, because until we do that, I remain the only oral professional storyteller in my country, in Sierra Leone. I am the only one professionally. It means if my young people don't see that I am living well, that I am prospering in doing this, in carrying this, our heritage, no young person will want to join this. No young person. They ain't fools. We're going to have to reevaluate how we value this information, this institution, this noble institution of the Djali.
Thank you very much, Yusufu. It's been an engaging and wonderful presentation. It's been entertaining. We've had wonderful questions from the audience. I would really like to thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and spending your time with us this evening. I have to say that your parting message has been particularly a resonant one for us as a people in Barbados, where we often talk about the importance of our culture, and even if we really have a culture, but if we put value on those parts of our culture that resonate with us, we too will be able to perpetuate and recognize our culture for what it is. So thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for this very engaging session. And I'd also like to thank our audience this evening for being such a great audience and asking lots of really great questions. Thank you so much, everyone, and good evening.
Good evening to you. Can I just say one final thing? Our people say, you have the head, but you have the neck. There's one person here who's the neck to making this happen, to make me be present here. And I cannot go without honoring her. And that is Natasha. Natasha has been on my case for a while to make sure I'm here. And she's worked with me diligently to help produce this particular lecture here. And I want to thank you, Natasha. Thank you for your diligent work, your passion for African culture, your passion to help us appreciate who we are is undeniable. Thank you very much, Natasha. Thank you, all of those who've joined us on Facebook. Thank you. I know from some dear friends have joined us here. I really want you to know that some very, very, great people have joined us here, and I'm so pleased. Vicky Remoy, thank you for being here. Mara, thank you for being here as well. Iroko, thank you also for being here with us, and everybody else who've asked questions. It's such a pleasure. I will be launching my Patreon site very soon. I'm letting you know. And once I do that, you're going to be having a lot of my stories there. So, contribute to it, subscribe to it, and so on. And then you get a lot more from me that will use, a lot of resources will be there, believe me. So that will be coming out very, very soon. But on social media, I'm there, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. You can always link me up. And any further questions, please let me have them. I'll be able to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks once again, Yusufu, and thank you, everyone. Good evening.